Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to take just a very few minutes to talk about digital signatures, what's going on in the state that I'm aware of with digital signatures, and then some of the things that we're looking forward to. So first of all, we have some requirements of state agencies. We'll talk about a risk assessment that's required for business processes for state agencies. We'll talk about digital versus electronic signatures and an important differentiation between those two. We'll talk about PKI, and I'll tell you what that is, and then some available technologies that are either in use or are coming soon to the state. So requirements of state agencies, Act 722 of 2007 required that state agencies either use or permit the use of digital signatures by June of 2009. Heard several interpretations of what that means. Does that mean you have to use them and then you don't have to permit the use if you're using them? It's quite confusing, but what it means is you need to look at your business processes, find out where digital signatures can best be used, and then figure out how to accept those from the public. So in part of doing that, we've published a document. Several state agencies got together at the direction of DIS and DFNA and produced this document that's listed down here at the bottom. Basically, if you go to DIS's website, click on Policies and Best Practices, it's listed there instead of writing down this link. But this document walks you through a risk analysis of a business process. So you pick a process, you go through the various steps of this document, and you come out with an idea of what technologies might best fit your process. To sum up I think it's a 15-page document, but to kind of sum that up and what you're going to do are these three steps. The first being you're going to determine how important it is to know that the person you're giving this signature, or you're giving this digital signature or this electronic signature, how important it is to know who they are. In other words, if I gave Herschel this certificate, well, maybe he didn't prove that he was Herschel when I gave it to him, right? So maybe I actually gave it to someone that looked like Herschel, but it really wasn't him. So that's the first question, is how important it is to know who that person is. The second thing, how important is it to know that a document signed by that person is actually the person we gave that certificate to? So if I give Herschel a certificate and he later signs a document and sends it to me, how do I know that he was really the person who signed that document? 1 and 2 kind of seem like the same thing, but they're not really. Sometimes you might need 2, but you may not need 1. For example, you might have this person signing lots of documents, so you have a history of that signature. So it's not so important that you know what that person went through to get it. Does that make sense? So there's a good example that DHS uses. We have contractors who perform work on behalf of our agency, and they sign documents every month. They sign purchase orders, they sign bills and things we send back and forth to them, so we get a history of the signature they use. We know what that signature looks like. And because of that, it's not so important that we had them come in with a notary and a driver's license, and we had to figure out who they were, because we had a business history with them. So that's the difference between number 1 and number 2. And then number 3 is, when you have a document that's signed, how important is it to know that that document hasn't changed since it's been signed? Some documents, that's not important. You simply need a sign-off on it. However, certain documents, let's say maybe a prescription from a doctor, the pharmacy wants to know that that prescription hasn't been changed by the client when it went from the doctor to the client and then to the pharmacy. Okay, important distinction between electronic signature and digital signature. An electronic signature is a sound, symbol, or process attached to something that the person has chosen to represent their signature. In other words, this mark on a paper that's scanned in could be an electronic signature. The image of their signature that they pasted into a document could be their signature. It could be a digital signature. It could be one of many things. When you go to Walmart and you check out at the checkout and you sign on the pad for your credit card, that's a digital signature. That's an electronic signature. Then there's digital signatures, and that's actually a subset of electronic signatures. I gave the legal definition that Arkansas has adopted, but the two important things to notice is that it is an electronic signature And then it has what we call PKI, Public Key Infrastructure. Now I'll explain what that is, but just know that digital signatures are a subset of electronic signatures. PKI is kind of, it's kind of like the notary system we use with regular signatures. It's a way to put some trust into the signature that you really know who it came from. So I'm going to walk through the process of how PKI works. So the user over here, Tom, wants to get an electronic signature or a digital signature. He goes out to a third party, which we call the certificate authority, and he requests a digital signature or a digital certificate. The certificate authority says, all right, Tom, show me some identifying documents. Show me a credit card with your name and your home address on it. Maybe show me a driver's license number or a social security number. Ask for a series of personal information so that they have some assurance of who that person is. Now, depending on the type of certificate, they may only ask for a credit card number, or they may ask for quite a few number of documents. In some cases, they're even going to ask for you to appear in front of a notary to prove your identity. Okay, step 2, the certificate authority gives Tom a certificate. Now, this is either a device that he carries with him. It might be a piece of software that he installs on his computer. It can take many different forms, but basically he can use this certificate to sign documents from now until it expires, usually a year or 2-year term. Okay, so Tom now has a document that he wants to sign and send to Sally. He takes his digital certificate, he applies it to that document, and he sends that signed document to Sally. Well, that's great. Now Sally has a document with some words at the bottom that says it was signed, but she has no way of knowing who signed it. She doesn't really trust that Tom is who he says he is, so she goes back to the certificate authority and says, hey, I've got this document, I've got this signature. Is this valid? Have you all went through the steps necessary to issue this certificate? The certificate authority will either say, yes, it's valid, or no, it's not. So if they say, yes, it's valid, she has a trust in the certificate authority, and Tom has a trust in the certificate authority.